Hello, America! Today, thousands will try, but few will make it as Select Media Services' best merchandiser. Let's discover who's going to be America's not-so-idle merchandiser. Today's competition is at the Kroger retail food chain. Judging the competition will be the persnickety and downright nasty Englishman, Simon Growl.
And thanks for that introduction, Twit.
Our second judge is an SMS celebrity, Paula Notcool. Welcome, Paula.
Thank you, Bob.
Contestants are vying for the top spot as SMS's not-so-idle merchandiser. First, we have Willie Make It. Willie traveled cross-country from Goose Egg, Iowa to compete here tonight. Good luck, Willie.
In your face, Betty. I'm going to be America's next top merchandiser.
Our second contestant is Betty Don't. Betty is a part-time sister to a family of 13 in Atlanta and full-time pickle collector. Good luck to you today, Betty.
That's what you think, Willie. I'm going to be America's top merchandiser. Chew on that.
Let's begin the competition with Willie.
The first thing that they have to do for the competition today, Simon, is call in from the customer service desk phone.
Let's get on with it already. I've got a tea time at 2. Who's up first? Oh, the bloke.
Cool it, Simon. Yes, Willie's logging into the IVR with his ID, password, chain, and store number as we speak. For those who might want to try out for American Not-So-Idle Merchandiser, remember that the chain number will vary by state or region.
So what if he can't bloody figure what the number is?
Well, he can refer to the IVR training manual, which obviously he doesn't need.
He's bloody lucky he is. Hey, just caught him. He must carry his badge in a visible location at all times. Clipped to his back pocket is not very visible.
It's early in the competition, Simon. Try not to eliminate him yet. We should let future competitors know that they should wear their Select Media badge for SMS accounts and their Newsgroup badge for TNG accounts.
It's time to move on to the receiving portion of the competition. Here, Betty is getting new products from the receiving area, specifically Drug General Merchandise, also known as Drug GM.
When it comes to receiving, Kroger stores may vary. The Drug GM area of the store is often in the back, near the meat department.
You sailed through the first part of the competition, Betty. What are some tips to get you through this portion?
Well, as you can see, I have an invoice that was left here by the driver, and I take this invoice and I match it up with the totes that are left by the driver and make sure that the product here goes with this store that I'm working today.
I can see the store number and the address on the label. Betty uses that to verify the order. And if she doesn't see it, she calls her supervisor.
Look at Willie. I think he received a tote for another store.
Hopefully he'll set it aside for the driver to pick up. Looks like he did. He's not wasting any time notifying his supervisor and calling the customer service number found on his paperwork.
Unless he's calling for carryout. I could use a pizza right now. I've got a gig at 11.
Now, if he didn't have an invoice, he should have called customer service to have a copy faxed to the store.
That call could help make him America's not-so-idle merchandiser.
Oh, look at those totes. I love the colors. They match my outfit.
Well, with feet like yours, you could wear them as shoes. The totes are what most of the books and magazines are delivered in, although we get an occasional box or two.
Thanks, smart guy. Looks like they've got a light load. Delivery can range from 2 or 3, sometimes up to 30 totes. It's interesting to note that the blue totes, jerk, are sometimes the same color used by Kroger's Peyton warehouse. Betty and Willie need to be sure they keep TNG's totes separate.
Look at those labels on the totes, Paula.
Those labels are letting Willie and Betty know if there are books or magazines inside.
I thought it was the color of the tote.
Let's check in with Willie to see how he's doing.
Hey, Paula. Making sure I know who I'm working with at this store.
So it's true that check-in and check-out varies by store and by division?
That's right. In some stores, it'll be the receiver. In others, it'll be the drug GM. So that's why it's very important that you're supposed to know who you're working with in each store.
That's great advice. Thanks, Willie.
And on that note, make sure the drug GM or receiver knows that you are in the store and that he or she has checked in the books prior to you servicing them.
Look at what Betty is doing right now. She's making sure Kroger personnel runs the store DSD through the back door, which means the payment for this product is processed. The DSD is placed in the newsgroup folder or tote designated for paperwork for the driver to see on the next visit. It's an extremely important step.
Like Betty here, contestants must complete this process before they service the books to ensure TNG is paid for this product. But the magazines don't need to be checked in, so you may want to start with them first, like Willie is doing here.
It looks like both Betty and Willie are ready to place all of the shipped product on the sales floor.
That's because there is no backstock in the Kroger program. See, even I know that one, Miss Smarty Britches. And the only exception would be Book of the Month or Spotlight titles, which of course would be my best-selling book, Simon Growl, You Suck as a Merchandiser.
That sounds like such a motivational book.
Oh, stick it in your ear, dear.
Let's get these future merchandising idols to the next part of the competition, the displays.
Kroger has several types of displays that vary by store and region.
Although all of the various displays are important sales opportunities, the key displays are the main line, featured towers or pockets, Book of the Month fixture, and checkouts. If it's your first time servicing, confirm with your supervisor which displays are in your store.
Additional displays may include the pill book display or a whole health end cap in the pharmacy, the cookbook spinner, and a book and magazine wine rack. Some Mid-South and Mid-Atlantic division stores may have a Random House Children's Power Panel located near the diaper or baby aisle or an American Girl spinner. The majority of Kroger's Atlanta stores also have a Southern Living Power Wing located on the end of the aisle in various locations.
There's the most important cross-merchandising book rack for all stores. In Atlanta, this fixture is called the lobby table. For all other divisions, this is called the Book of the Month bestseller spinner. Select Central stores have an additional front entrance table. This table has the Book of the Month and Spotlight titles, media picks, and feature book titles. It can either be located near the front entrance or the checkout area.
And finally, each Kroger store has magazines at the checkouts.
The number of pockets and title selections will vary by store. Some checkouts will have a pocket with a feature logo. Read your weekly Kroger newsletter for titles for this space. For more about checkout planograms by division and by store, go to the SMS Biz site.
We're back at the main line with Betty and Willie. Let's see how things are going. Betty?
Well, ever since I found my Kroger account newsletter and the book reorder forms, it's just been all downhill from there.
Great. Willie?
Betty, I get that newsletter too. It has the magazine and book information we need to service this entire store.
Thank you both.
Looks like Betty and Willie have a little cleaning up to do. Better them than me.
Because you have a hair appointment at 9, right, Simon? Anyway, they're removing anything that gets in the way of completing their service.
Tut. They're starting to scan for out-of-date magazines.
Most magazines will have an end date on the cover or a sale month on the spine.
Looks like Betty is unsure, so she's looking at the invoice.
Willie's ahead of the game. He knows the new Entertainment Weekly magazine, so he's switching it out. However, as a weekly, this title should be placed on the front shelf.
Look at the speed in which Willie is dropping the magazines on the main line.
He's got to make sure that they are placed on the display by category or topic.
Like all magazines about me are together, and the one magazine about you is in the back.
In your dreams, Simon.
But Willie seems to be slacking. All magazines should be full-faced, no overlapping, and no space between titles.
Willie's moving too fast and careless. He should know that overlapping may be caused by not pulling returns, and that should be checked first.
Willie needs to ensure there is no outdated product on the display. If it turns out he has a distribution issue, he should report it to customer service at the number on the screen.
Now we're off to the registers.
Betty came through with flying colors on the main line, and it looks like she'll handle the registers the same way.
All of the magazines at the register fixtures are planogrammed, so filling the pockets should be easy for both of them. If they're short on copies, they should contact customer service.
Paula, looks like Betty's hit a snag. She's out of a checkout title, just when she was doing so well.
She's not out yet, Simon. She's reviewing the publisher's substitute list, which contains other magazine choices available to fill a space paid for by a publisher. I believe her supervisor gave her a copy.
Betty's been very good at checking all the details. She pays attention to the checkout lane priority sequence at opening.
You're right, Simon. Most Kroger stores open the U-Scan registers first, so she's making sure those magazine pockets are full.
I've noticed that in my travels there are certain regular checkout lanes that are more heavily shopped than others. Like Betty here, Willie should be packing out those checkout lanes while using copies more sparingly at the registers that are seldom open.
For once, Simon, sage advice. Let's see how the gang is doing. Willie?
I've moved all the magazines around at the checkout, in which I do every visit, ensuring that all the pockets have copies.
And you, Betty?
This is nothing new for me. This is basic merchandising. The only difference is that I make sure that the copies are pulled forward so that the divider does not show.
You heard it here first, Simon. The competition's been stepped up a few notches.
Both of them need to pay close attention to other displays placed in front of the checkouts. Make sure they are at least 2 feet out from the checkout rack so the magazines are visible. Otherwise, they can have a negative effect on the register's magazine sales.
If this becomes a problem, report it to customer service.
Now it's time for the magazine return portion of the competition.
As you know, Simon, the magazines at Kroger are part of the Scan-Based Trading Program, or SBT. This means that Kroger has only paid for the magazines that are scanned through their registers. In order to avoid shrink and for TNG to receive credit for the magazines that didn't sell, all unsold magazines need to be returned for proof of that non-sale.
Betty and Willie have taken all the old magazines off the shelves, so they are no longer on sale.
Now they're taking the returns back to the drug GM area. You know, it's interesting that some Kroger divisions require that the merchandisers complete the return process and others do not.
They'll need to refer to individual Kroger division return procedures for more information.
The magazines must be placed in the magazine totes in their entirety. That means covers intact. They should seal the totes and leave them to be returned to the warehouse by the TNG delivery drivers.
This is a nice surprise. Willie is keeping the titles together so they can easily be counted by the warehouse staff when they're returned.
Now for the more demanding part of our competition, the book service. This service will make or break both of our contestants.
You know, Paula, you keep bringing up this Kroger newsletter. Why is it so bloody important?
The newsletter is considered to be the most important tool needed for servicing a Kroger store. For the book service, it explains what new books will arrive in the order and where they should be placed.
It looks like Willie has a bestseller reorder form. I take it it's included with the newsletter?
That's right, Simon. It also functions as the bestseller planogram.
Betty's jumped right in, servicing the Book of the Month fixture first.
This fixture includes some of the newest books on sale, such as the Book of the Month or Spotlight, as well as other featured titles.
That means my book will show up on that fixture. That's bloody wonderful.
Great. His head just keeps getting bigger. If you're watching Betty, she's displaying those titles on the national laydown or on sale dates on that exact date.
If a merchandiser is not servicing the store on that date, he or she needs to make sure the drug GM is aware so that the store will set the titles out on the Book of the Month or BOM fixture.
Willie's taking the extra effort to follow up. He'll confirm on his next visit that all copies were displayed, and if not, he'll place the remaining titles at that time.
I believe this is the only time product may be left in backstock.
New Book of the Month and bestseller signage also needs to be placed on the BOM fixtures.
One of the totes or a cardboard shipper will contain any feature signage that needs to be set with these titles.
Merchandisers will receive 2 shelf talkers for each Book of the Month or Spotlight title that will have 30 or 40% discount pricing.
When setting these books, they need to place them with this signage on the proper fixtures.
These titles are paperbacks, hardbacks, or trade paper titles. Both Betty and Willie are placing them on both the bestseller display and BOM fixture.
Well, Our contestants will have to be careful here, since Kroger is required to sell a book at the price listed. TNG could be fined for any discount signage not removed by the scheduled expiration date and the book sells at the wrong price. That can be an expensive mistake, Paula.
It certainly can be. Here, Betty is referring to the weekly notes and looking at the shelf talker to determine when it should be removed. The notes let her know to remove the copies from the BOM fixture, refill the bestseller sections, and return leftovers.
Looks like Willie is moving ahead of Betty and is ready for the next step, which is servicing the bestseller fixture. Some stores, like this one, may be on an end cap.
As you know, Simon, bestsellers are determined on a weekly basis and must be switched out accordingly. It looks like the weekly notes have helped Willie determine the position of every title.
Merchandisers also get a bestseller card each month, but the weekly list rarely matches this card entirely due to the different title release dates.
After placing the hardback bestsellers horizontally, Willie places the Kroger bestseller card back in position for customers to see.
I've noticed that most of the books will stay on the rack 2 to 3 months. It will be necessary for merchandisers to watch for low product and reorder.
Both Willie and Betty should have received new titles listed in their notes for the feature planogram. These are top-selling titles that did not make the bestseller list for the month.
Some of these titles will have higher sales than even the bestsellers, so it's critical that both of them reordered their out-of-stock titles. Depending upon your store's hardback footage, you may notice other sections such as inspirational, cookbook, family living, etc. For more information about these additional sections, merchandisers should ask their supervisor.
Willie is looking at the planogram title list. He's starting from the top of the planogram and working his way down. He knows that any titles not found on this list can be returned. Betty is at the next step, which is servicing the paperback sections. The planograms she's using are specific for each store and based on footage, number of shelves, and pockets.
Where did Betty get her planograms?
Well, I believe she either contacted her supervisor for her store's individual planogram or she downloaded it from the SMS Biz site.
Here we are in the paperback section, which begins with bestsellers in the first 4-foot section.
Unlike the hardback sellers, Betty and Willie are merchandising these titles vertically.
For our future merchandisers out there, be sure to reorder low or out-of-stock titles. And once the titles have moved off the list, at least one facing of each title should be moved to the bottom of the rack into the previous bestseller section.
Competition is getting tight. Both Willie and Betty are moving into the second 4-foot section of paperbacks, which are new releases.
This section includes rising stars, like moi, impact, opportunity, and hot titles. Again, like me.
Aha, right. Smaller stores may also have series romance in this section. The new release titles change out each month. The third 4-foot section will be feature authors. Stores will receive 3 to 4 titles by the same author that should be merchandised together.
That brings us to the children's section, Paula. Again, Willie and Betty are running neck and neck, placing new children's titles. Looks like Betty is merchandising a wide variety of formats, such as little golden books and coloring and activity books. If she had received a monthly pre-pack for the children's section, she also would need to refer to the children's POG to reorder. That's something everyone should do.
Looks like Willie's going back to make sure he serviced all cross-merchandising racks.
Like Willie, merchandisers should check these racks each visit, even if they don't receive new product. They should make sure all pockets are full and place reorders as needed. If a merchandiser needs to reorder, a reorder form for all items should be faxed or emailed to the correct servicing book location. Contact your supervisor for this information.
Like all retail stores, Kroger stores participate in various promotions throughout the year. That means that merchandisers will receive product that should be placed in the corrugation provided.
And if the store refuses to put it up, Paula?
Merchandisers should report all display refusals to customer service immediately. If for some reason you do not receive corrugation, Contact your supervisors so that they can either help locate or replace the display. Hold the product in backstock until the issue has been resolved. Do not place it on the main line. If you do this, the main line will not be compliant. Read the weekly newsletter for a list of all current displays and return any not listed.
Once again, Betty and Willie are visiting and straightening and will place reorders for all sections of the store. It's going to be close, Paula.
It sure is, Simon. If at any time a display or fixture which belongs in a Kroger store is missing or damaged, make note of it and contact your supervisor. Now that all of the books have been taken off the shelves and are no longer on sale, our marvelous merchandisers are placing them in their entirety. Again, don't rip off the covers, in the book totes or shopping carts depending upon the drug GM's preference. Check the SMS Biz site for additional info regarding each division's return procedures.
Betty added her final touch already by wiping down all of the fixtures serviced by SMS as she filled them. Willie waited until the end. Now he has to run back and clean. This is going to count against him. While Willie is wiping, Betty has moved onto the checkout. She's calling from the store phone to log out of the IVR, and it looks like she's completing the required survey.
The competition is done, and the contestants are waiting for the final judgment. Who's going to be America's not-so-idle merchandiser?
Well, it was a close contest, but Willie made a few mistakes with his organization and cleanliness, so I'm going to vote no. Simon?
Paula, for once I'm going to agree with you. Willie started out strong, but forgot the details, which you can never do as an SMS merchandiser. Betty, on the other hand, was pitch perfect. So it's yes for Betty and no for Willie.
Congratulations, Betty. And Willie, good luck next year.
Well, this is Bob the announcer, and you've just watched another competition of America's not-so-idle merchandiser. Good night, everyone.